Gate Broadcasting Network, a part of you.
Let's talk security, current affairs, governance, politics, your view, elections, rule of law, economic issues, foreign events on the Talking Point. Talking Point, weekdays on this channel.
From the information we have been able to gather recently, we've been told, as at last week, that the Port Harcourt Refinery will be up and running in 2 weeks' time. So we are eyeing first or second week max in the month of April to have the Port Harcourt Refinery be fully functional. We started a conversation around the plans to have the Port Harcourt Refinery be ready for operation. I have constantly engaged a particular expert to discuss this particular issue of the Port Harcourt Refinery, and he has always provided expertise, advice, and opinion on the state of the Port Harcourt Refinery. So when the NNPCL came out to tell us, contrary to what the Minister of State for Petroleum told us, that the refinery was going to be ready in the fourth quarter, but NNPCL came out and told us that in 2 weeks' time, the Port Harcourt Refinery will be ready for operations. And that got marketers, independent marketers, running here and there, scrambling for the opportunity to, as it were, market whatever the Port Harcourt Refinery was bringing out. So we're excited at the prospect. We're ready for the commencement, taking NNPCL by their word. Welcome to the Talking Point. Today, we are looking at the commencement of the Port Harcourt Refinery and other matters arising. I am your host, Ike Chiku Jue. Joining me all the way from Lagos is an oil and gas expert, someone I've always engaged on this particular matter. He has the expertise. Trust me when I say he has the expertise. He himself is a major dealer and a stakeholder in that sector. Join me as I welcome Dr. WISDOM Enanng, joining us from Lagos. Dr. WISDOM, you're welcome. Dr. WISDOM? Had him for a bit there, but I think it must have been some kind of connection. But just to prepare Dr. WISDOM, to rejoin us, because we had him for a bit there before I brought him on. Quoting the Punch newspaper of the 19th of this month, that's the month of March, it states the position of marketers there. As it says, the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria and the Major Energy Marketers Association of Nigeria have projected a marginal reduction in the pump price of premium motor spirit, popularly known as petrol, and of course produced from the Port Harcourt refinery once the plant begins operations. Oh, by the way, Dr. WISDOM is ready for us. Dr. WISDOM, you're welcome. Great to have you.
Thank you very much, Ike. I do appreciate it.
For a moment there, we had you, and then for some network reason, we lost connection, but I'm glad that you're back. Dr. WISDOM, let's talk about the prospect of the Port Harcourt Refinery from what we were told by the NNPCL, that give or take a week or two from now, first week, second week max, April, we'll have the Port Harcourt Refinery be functional. I kick-started this conversation with you, so let's get back to it. Are you not excited about the prospect of the commencement, as we were told by the NNPCL?
Yeah, I'm excited about the story, but beyond the story, I think it is important for all the Nigerians to first, as a minimum, reconcile the rhetoric and narrative between what the Honorable Minister for State Petroleum for Oil and also what the GMD for the NNPCL said. It is very important because, like I always say, the devil is in the details. And if you get the details wrong, then of course it could all go south. We did know that the Honourable Minister for State for Petroleum for Oil said that we were expecting the start date of the fourth quarter. And now we're hearing in a couple of weeks that we're actually going to start. So I asked myself a couple of questions for which I'm having more questions than answers. And the question is, well, what's the hold up in terms of where are we at the moment? And then the next question I want to ask is, what has changed? And do we have the right imperatives to be able to do a startup? And when we say an operational startup, does it mean that we're going to be dishing that out to the customers, getting refined products? What are we going to refine? Are we refining PMS, or are we refining for a start diesel? Because you do know, IK, that for the most part, a lot of the refineries that start up refining diesel. So what are we refining? What does that mean for the Nigerian, the Nigerian consumers? Are they waiting for PMS to be refined, or are they waiting for diesel? And what are we actually dishing forward? We have the right imperatives to make sure that we start. And when I say imperatives, I'm saying, do we have? Are we able to complete from a technical standpoint, rehabilitation standpoint, the technical works that we're doing at the moment? Are we also able to get the agreements, the supply agreements that allows us to get the right crude quantity to be able to refine the products and get refine the product, get the feedstock rather, and refine the products, and then get it out to customers. Are those agreements in place? And what sort of volumes are we looking at? Which is the last thing you really want, is to say we're going to be operational, and then you find out that that operational statement really means the web startup, and we're not actually ready to start serving customers. That is not what the average Nigerian wants to hear. What they want to hear is that we start up, and then what they want to hear is how much volume, how does it affect our supply situation, and how does it affect the pricing situation?
Okay, that's a very good way to kickstart the conversation. The last time we spoke about the Port Harcourt, can you hear me, Dr. Wisdom?
Yeah.
Now, the last time we spoke about this, we talked about the phasal repairs.
Yes,
we were told by the NNPCL and the Minister of State, Heineken Lokbobiri, when they visited the facility, that it was in a phasal stage. And we were told then that a particular phase had been completed and that they were moving to the next phase. That was when he gave the commencement date for the fourth quarter. But with the NNPCL coming out now to tell us that the Port Harcourt refinery will be fully operational from 2 weeks' time, do you think, as an expert, with the information we have, because I quote you there saying the devil is in the details, with the information that we have about the phasal repairs, looking at the length of time, do you suppose that the phasal repairs and everything that is required for the Port Harcourt refinery must have been completed, so much so that we're ready for the next 3 weeks? Let's be very practical here. You're the expert. Can you hear me, Dr. Wisdom? Dr. Wisdom, are you there? We seem to be having a bit of a network instability there.
Yeah, but, that. So the number of yeah, I can hear you. Like, can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead,
Can you
Dr.
hear
Wisdom.
me?
Go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes. Go on. Seem to be having some network instability there, and that's affecting clarity and the smoothness of the communication. But before Dr. Wisdom comes back to give further explanation, Dr. Wisdom, are you there now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. The network is a bit funny here. So this is the thing, right? From a technical standpoint, I do believe that the optimization is possible. And honestly, that would depend on how well they expedite their long lead items procurement, how well I
We're still having that technical issues. While we try to reconnect with Dr. Wisdom, we're trying to look at the commencement of the Port Harcourt refinery, and based on what we were told.
So,
Go
can
ahead.
you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Dr. Wisdom.
Right, sorry, the network is a bit funny, but yeah, bear with me. What's going on is this: there's room for schedule optimization, definitely. I like to say, but a schedule jump of that nature would suggest that maybe, perhaps, there was sort of float. What I mean by float is there was perhaps, an inclusion of an extra schedule, which was sort of a contingency. It wasn't the case that we had, maybe they were just putting a contingency in. Well, interesting to see how we get forward from, an optimization or a scale optimization of over 2 quarters, because we're talking about fourth quarter. Now we're in the second quarter. We're thinking about startup. One thing that hasn't been clearly defined is this startup a startup that we're about to serve customers, or is it a wet operational startup just for testing purposes? That's something that is not clear to me. There's no information about that. But if you're asking if it's possible to optimize schedule, yes, it is possible, but that means you would have put in a lot of float inside. And a float of over 2 quarters seems a lot of float to me.
Okay, Dr. Wisdom, if the network will permit this clarity and flow there, you spoke about scaling up optimization. I quote you there as saying it is possible. For the purpose of clarity, help us. How can this be achieved? Knowing well that the Port Harcourt refinery was in a very moribund state, it was almost moribund before this repairs, which we were being told is done in a phasal way. So how would all of that have been fixed to the point where we're talking about commencement in a week or two? And help us, please. You're the expert.
Okay, so
can I go on?
okay, so let me explain a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, go on.
Let me explain something a little bit, right? One thing we need to understand is that when we look at the schedule, the schedule they're not phased equally, right? So it could take you 2 years to do the construction and
oh my.
completion and commissioning, or will be wet completion tuning. So they're not actually phased equally. And that's one thing that we need to understand.
Okay.
In this case, that just took place, the dry commissioning that just took place not too long ago, we should actually have maybe another 2 quarters before the wet commissioning, so that we can close that out, because there are what we call bucket list items that come out of a mechanical completion. And so when that bucket list items comes out, you need time to close that out. So I'm not sure how much bucket list item came out of the last mechanical completion. I'm not sure how much they need to do to close out before the wet completion, but I'm having a cautious optimism that we're getting so fast, and I'm only hoping that we haven't dropped the ball somewhere if we're getting that fast. As I said, there is not an explanation to why we're able to close out something that should take 3 quarters or 4 quarters in 2 quarters, and without that, I can't comment further. But I think that's a very optimistic schedule, and I'm hoping that this is not just one of those statements that will be difficult to match from an implementation standpoint.
Okay, now let's take this conversation a bit a notch higher. With what we have from the explanations given according to the phasal repairs, are we ready to begin operations to the point, because quoting what the Punch said from the 19th of this month, Independent Premium Marketers Association of Nigeria and the major energy marketers, they are already projecting a marginal reduction in the pump price of premium motor spirit, otherwise known as fuel, should this commencement kick off. So they're already looking forward to it. A lot of them are already showing indications. They want to get started. They want to market it. So let us talk about the feasibility of that commencement in itself.
I mean, we've said this over and over. The feasibility, you would need a lot of information. So, for example, I would need to know, as I said, I've then closed out a lot of those punch list items that come out of the mechanical completions, and without that, we can't tell. But what we can tell, just like people are projected, is this: we're going to close the supply gap as soon as that comes in, and depending on what price it is coming in at. Remember, we should have a downward review of the price of PMS now, because all the factors that affect that price are coming in at a favor. We're having a favorable exchange rate at the moment. We're also having the refineries coming, and that should help drive that downward. I'm not sure what price that should be. But again, from a feasibility standpoint, we can only go by what the government is saying, and we can only try to prompt them to come up with more objective figures for accountability, without which we cannot tell. As I said, there's no one that can tell if truly we're ready for that startup. Because you can't walk into that refinery and start asking questions. Oh, where are we? What are the numbers? What status is our mechanical completion? What do we? Is our system fully integrated and ready for a wet test, an operational test, and also for sure, right? You don't know what punch list items is going to come out of the wet test. You don't know that for certain, because when you go into the wet test, which should be your final test, some items do come up. There are some completion punch list items that will come up. I don't know that for certain. It could be that a punch list item comes up and we need to do some system optimization. It may take the original equipment manufacturer coming in to do that optimization. We don't know that, so I can't comment. My hands are tied, unfortunately. But what we do know is that when it does come up, it makes some changes to the supply situation, and ultimately should make some changes to the pricing in the long term.
Good. Let's leave that for a bit. Let's talk about our production quota. From fillers, we're hearing that our production quota, our level of production is improving by the day, owing to several factors. You want to explain better for us the benefits of this increment, this improvement that we're hearing?
Yeah, so our crude production is increasing. Before I go into the benefits, I'm going to talk about the factors that are helping. So right now, the federal government is running a number of initiatives that are helping. Crude theft is reducing, and thankfully, I think we can only build on the only room at the top. There's a room for more improvement, so I think that's a good thing, the positive reinforcement. The other thing that we're having to do right is the fact that the federal government is pushing a lot of the producers right now to give out plans for their production optimization. And that means we're putting out commitments to increase our production quota. And that's going on a company-by-company basis, and that's a good thing. The other thing is that there's still room for improvement, right? The room for improvement happens because we still have rooms to go out there and explore more field. We still have rooms to go into what we call primary recovery, where we're going to recovering production beyond relying on the natural reservoir pressure and drive. So there's still a lot of room for that improvement. There's still a lot of room for us to go out there and ensure that the investors who we have given a marginal field go into immediate improvement, production of those fields. Now, coming to the benefits. Benefits are that we have more money coming into the economy. Remember that 95% of our, 90% rather, of our forex earnings comes from crude. And so by having to purchase more crude, we're able to earn more forex. What that means is that we also have, more crude actually to be able to offset our loan commitments. Remember, most times the government gets loans, and they get loans at the back of your crude production, and they say, we're going to give you certain quota of our crude production. So we can be able to settle those loans, obviously, without actually, impacting negatively our projected financial earnings from the crude. And that's a lot. And then we can do a lot of projects. And also, by improving our crude production, we can begin to look at how much quota we can put aside for the domestic sector. Remember, the refining sector will need a significant amount of crude, so we can put aside significant quota of crude for the domestic sector, which will further actually help us to be able to money, and enhance the growth of our domestic refining capacity.
Okay, I'm tempted again, for the purpose of clarity, to probe further. The journalistic instincts in me is rearing up, and I want more information. Now, if our production is improving, factors now, are we exploring more oil fields? Does it have anything to do with the refineries? What exactly are the practical variables that is increasing our production? That's what we want to know.
Well, the first thing is, the answer is very simple. We're curbing more theft. And secondly, we're giving a marching order to the companies to begin to look at how they can enhance their recovery. Let me tell you something. It's very simple. So for the average person, it's like your boss coming to you and say, these are your KPIs. Tell me how you're going to meet these KPIs. So the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission has written to the oil and gas companies and saying, well, this is your production numbers, and this is the potential that you can reach. Tell me how you're going to close that gap. And a lot of the companies have come in to say, this is exactly how we're going to close that gap, and how they're doing it, improving their processes. So, for example, if they can improve the production by going in there and say, for example, they're able to open some more additional wells up. They're able to do some gas lifting operations to energize the wells further. They're able to do some gas injection processes. These are the things that the NUPRC are holding them accountable. So more like a production optimization. But what I'm saying that beyond relying on the reservoir pressure itself, there are enhanced oil recovery that we can even get further enhancement that we can explore. But these are all long-term. Those are categorized under the long term. Those are not things that you can do overnight, but those are prospects that we need to keep chasing. The same with what you've mentioned and asked the question.
Oh, Dr. Wisdom, I don't know if you can hear me clearly. For a bit there, we lost your audio for a bit there. You might want to check with your audio. But this issue of crude oil theft, which you have also talked about as one of the major reasons why our production quota is increasing by the day, are we exactly dealing with it the way that we should? Because with all that has been coming out, especially recent happenings in Bayelsa, Delta State, the Okwama situation and whatnot, revelations are coming out with this oil theft issue. Are we dealing with oil theft the way that we should? Are we approaching that issue with, the might that it's deserving of it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to tell you, crude oil theft is not something that is unique and completely, just a Nigerian thing. But the thing is this, right? There are a number of critical strategies that are required to curb crude oil theft. The first is we need to get the host community involved, which we have done, but there's still room for improvement, right? The second is we need to get government really focused on naming and shaming those that are at the center of it. And the big names that are sponsoring this crude oil theft yet. And until that happens, it will be very difficult to curb it. The third thing is the use of technology. There is no one way that can exclusively solve it. It's going to be an integrated community to solve crude oil theft. We're also bringing in people, the security forces. But what about the technology bit? What about the naming and shaming the people that are sponsoring this? Those are the room for improvement that we need to have compared to what we're currently doing to give us a more appreciable solution to the crude oil theft menace. But we're already in a positive direction. We're going in a positive direction. And certainly, if we can do the two recommendations that I've given, I think we should see a much better improvement.
I like the fact that you've given these recommendations, but I'd like for you to expatiate on them. You talked about naming and shaming. You talked about technology. And I think for me, I'm interested mostly on the naming and shaming and the technological part of it, because whenever we do this comparison with Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and all of that, one of the conversations that comes to mind is we don't know the measurement of how much crude we're getting out of the ground. So that technological aspect of it, I need explanation. And the naming and shaming part of it, because, we're arresting vessels here and there, we're getting people, but you talked about the sponsors of this particular act, naming and shaming them. I need explanation on that. Dr. Wisdom, you there? Hasn't really been a friendly one there with the network. Dr. Wisdom, are you there? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you. It's Zoom.
Go
Zoom
ahead.
is just doing what it does.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, right, when we talk about technology, right, for a minute, what we're talking about the technology to monitor the waterways so that we can, know when there's any intrusion. So this is one of those times when I bring in my PDRR methodology, which is predict, detect, respond, and recover. So the first thing you want to do is to bring a predictive technology in. The technology is able to look at, look at the parameters and know when there is an intrusion within those, those pipeline parameters. Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
Right. And when you look at the detect, you're also looking at a technology that is able to not only predict that, okay, we have an intrusion that's going on, but also detect that intrusion. But then to complement that technology, you need the respond and recover. The respond and recover isn't the security manpower that is going to be able to detect what is going on and respond. Right? So those are the two integrated things. When it comes to name and shaming, the question is, what are the deterrents? Right now, when we catch the tankers, we explode those tankers. We don't even do an investigation to find out who are the owners of those tankers. So how can we send a deterrent to the people who are sponsoring the crude oil theft? Those are the big questions. So the technology itself is not going to solve it. We need to send deterrents. Away from bombing and exploding the tankers, we need to investigate, name, and shame. And that way, we send a message to people that are hoping to indulge in this, that we are really serious about curbing this, and there is no hiding place for anybody that is caught sponsoring
Dr.
tests.
Wisdom, Dr. Wisdom, if I may interject you for a bit there, because of the network situation, I'm going to crave your indulgence. We'll go for a short break and then have a much more clearer conversation, because the network there hampered a lot of the explanations you gave, and I'm very interested in those explanations. But we'll have you bring those explanations again after this break. Please stay tuned.
It is important that we bring the core issue to the fore. Join me, Nancy Banigo, on Softline as we lend our voices to inform and influence your thoughts and actions. This is not just mere talk, it is an invocative program that touches the core of our existence.
Welcome to the rule of the majority, a government in which the supreme power is vested in the people and supervised through a system of representation. Democracy belongs to the people. Political Trail follows these developments and many more. Political Trail, trailing political developments.
Life is a combination of colors and experience in its beauty. The Lifestyle Gallery showcases the beautiful blends of African lifestyle, a TV magazine of lifestyle, food, homes, and fashion, combined with interesting interviews on trending issues. I am Nana Abena. Welcome to my world. Join me every Saturday at 2 p.m. and a repeat on Sunday.
Nigeria is a great country, blessed with human and natural resources. Born on October 1st, 1960, and like a child who's grown into an adult, has faced her own share of challenges. But Nigeria has the capacity to fulfill her destiny. With great minds and great leaders, a bright future is guaranteed. Though tribes and tongues may differ, her beauty is in the diversity. Her power is in the unity. Nigeria, our country, is for you and for me. Let's make it the Nigeria of our dream. Advocate Broadcasting Network, a part of you.
The world we live in
and the creatures that we share our planet with.
Join us on the most exciting adventures across the African continent.
See breathtaking wildlife, stunning landscapes,
and out of this world technology.
Meet incredible scientists
and learn fantastic facts.
Explore, discover, be amazed.
Be part of the next generation of African change makers.
Be a part of Engine, Africa's #1 science discovery program. Yay!
Let's go! We're learning every day.
Let's go!
And you need the way.
This is Event 360.
My name is IT Dennis.
My name is Bucci.
I'm Nathaniel Bassi.
Hey everybody, this is Sonny Badu.
My name is Ahmed Bishop Omar.
This is your boy Kenny Black.
I'm Hezekiah Walker.
My name is Hilda Bassi.
Hi, my name is Emmanuel, BBN Season 6 finalist, Mr. Africa International. Keep watching Event 360.
Keep watching Event 360.
Keep watching Event 360. Don't touch it. With Zaddy.
While you're on board, keep watching Event 360.
Keep watching Event 360.
Keep watching Event 360.
Event 360, anytime, any day.
Keep watching Event 360.
I need you to keep watching Event 360.
Keep watching Event 360.
Keep watching Event 360. Don't go away.
Remain favored, remain lifted, and keep watching Event 360.
Keep watching Event 360.
Event 360. Keep watching.
Keep watching Event 360.
Keep on watching and never stop watching Event 360. Do not touch that dial.
Welcome to the rule of the majority, a government in which the supreme power is vested in the people and supervised through a system of representation. Democracy belongs to the people. Political Trail follows these developments and many more. Political Trail, trailing political developments.
In a world of overwhelming voices where everyone has different opinion on different issues, it is important that we bring the core issue to the fore. Join me, Nancy Banigo, on Softline as we lend our voices to inform and influence your thoughts and actions. This is not just mere talk, it is an invocative program that touches the core of our existence.
Nigeria is a great country, blessed with human and natural resources. Born on October 1st, 1960, and like a child who's grown into an adult, has faced her own share of challenges. But Nigeria has the capacity to fulfill her destiny. With great minds and great leaders, a bright future is guaranteed. Though tribes and tongues may differ, her beauty is in the diversity. Her power is in the unity. Nigeria, our country, is for you and for me. Let's make it the Nigeria of our dream. Advocate Broadcasting Network, a part of you.
Welcome back. I must, of course, crave your indulgence. You're very much aware of the network situation in the country, especially with the cut of the cable in the seas. And from the last time we got information from Main 1, they told us that repairs are currently ongoing and that we'll have a constant and much more uninterrupted connectivity in the coming weeks. So you just bear with us. But we have Dr. WISDOM Enang back with us. So we can reestablish that conversation again. Dr. WISDOM, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we were talking about the issue of, curbing crude oil theft, because of course we cannot continue to talk about optimization of our, production, feed, and all whatnot, if we don't deal with the main monster, which here is crude oil theft and accountability in the process. So you were talking about two things that you talked about, the technological aspect of it, and then also the naming and shaming. You were explaining there, but the network was not so clear, so we could not exactly get that explanation well. So let's go back to the processes of dealing with crude oil theft. The two main points you mentioned there.
Yeah, can you hear me? Let me just establish that you can hear me.
Yes, I can. Perfectly.
Right, thank you. So basically, right, as I said, you need an integral approach to be able to curb crude oil theft.
Okay.
And that integral approach needs to involve, yes, the host community and the stakeholders, for which we now have local security getting involved. They know the area. We also have government getting their critical stakeholders which is the Joint Task Force, to also get involved, and then, of course, the Ministry of Petroleum also getting involved. However, right, what we need to know is that's not going to curb it. Right, in the head of tankers being arrested. Well, when I say arrested, that's a personification, but of course, they've caught tankers that are filled with stolen crude. And at the end of the day, we hear that these tankers were exploded. And so we're asking, what about the investigations? How do we find out who has stolen this crude, and how do we name and shame people? That is something that is not happening, and that needs to happen. When you explode those tankers, I'm not a legal expert, but you should circuit the legal process that should happen, and it is in that legal process that we would have punitive actions that would deter people. So those are where, when you short circuit the the areas that we could have gotten a sort of a justice would have been established. Because without evidence, you cannot establish justice. And the people that are stealing this crude would go untouched. And that's the area that I'm talking about. Let's not short circuit the legal system so that we can set a precedent that would deter people. When you're talking about technology, IK, on the other side, we're talking about the technology to predict and detect crude oil theft before they even occur. You're even talking about technology that allows us to be able to assist the a lot of remote operations. So, for example, if we had an idea that crude oil theft was going to happen, one, we should have a technology that will alert the Joint Task Force to respond. Two, we should be able to have a technology that allows us to shorten these pipelines. So if you're able to shorten a pipeline remotely before the theft occurs, how much inventory can be stolen? It's just going to be the inventory within the pipeline, but no more than that, because you've shut off the supply to that pipeline. These are remote sensing and execution possibilities that we need to start thinking about. And then again, can we complement the current effort and drive crude oil theft towards a zero volume standpoint?
That's a very good position that you put forward there, Dr. WISDOM Enang. But before we conclude this conversation, another aspect of this conversation that I want us to throw more light on, we're hearing that the price of petrol is dropping in the market in several places, and we're thankful for this development. And we're also getting positive signals about the FX market. The Naira is gaining, it's appreciating by the day. What's your take on all of these developments and how that positively impacts on our quest to better the lives of the average Nigerian by making fuel available, and then the moves that we're making to curb all of these illegalities?
I think I'm really excited.
Oh my. The network.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, by all means. Go ahead.
I said in 6 weeks, we have gotten Naira appreciated by 45%. And what that means is that we should have a corresponding, improvement in the pricing of items. But let me say something. The prices of items are not going to improve as fast as they fell. Are not going to improve as fast as they became worse. The reason is this, right? There are two cost push inflationary factors that are going to improve. One is the FX that is improving, and the second is the cost of fuel that we're talking about, that is about to get better. Now, a lot of people, because of panic buying, decided to buy a lot of items and keep those items in stock. So what we are finding is that, yes, the prospect of the prices are going to improve. A lot of those effects, affected prices are going to improve. Importation prices are going to improve, but it's not going to be as fast. So we're looking at about 2 months for that improvement to occur. That is what we're looking at the moment. But when we come to food items, we've still got a long way because we're relying a lot of internal production, and that internal production isn't as sufficient until we start importing to make up for the shortfall. We're still going to have, pay high prices. But as the inflation comes down, which should happen after the Ramadan, we should see another maybe 20% improvement in food prices, simply because of an inflation improvement standpoint, but nowhere near what we had last year, because otherwise we have to import and make up for the shortfall. And when we do that, it's a two-way thing, right? If you start importing food, then you're going to put more pressure on your forex, and then of course your forex is going to go up again.
Dr. WISDOM Enang, you provided some very expert analysis to the conversation. Quite unfortunately, the network has not been friendly with us today, and that has really hampered a chunk of the information that you've been able to churn out from where you are. Thank you again, Dr. WISDOM. I'm hopeful that we could revisit, this subject anytime soonest, pretty
Absolutely.
soon. Because, of course, we're monitoring development in the oil and gas sector as well as the economy. Where and when necessary, we'll invite you again to give your expert analysis and advice to continue to prefer solutions so that things can get better for this country. Thank you again, Dr. WISDOM Enang. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so for you, the viewer, thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. I must again apologize that the network is not exactly friendly and hampered certain aspects of the conversation. But I trust that a lot of what we've been able to talk about and the solutions preferred, at least the clearer part of it, must have been taken by people in the corridors of power. As they often say, solutions are like low-hanging fruit. You just reach out and then you grab it and then you get it done. Thank you again for being a part of it. Let's do this again tomorrow. Until then, my name is Ikechukwu Jue. As usual, I'll leave with a prayer. God bless Nigeria. A salute to you, the viewer. Bye for now.
Talk security, current affairs, governance, politics, your view, elections, rule of law, economic issues, foreign events on the Talking Point. Talking Point, weekdays on this channel.